Hi, and welcome again to another edition of Hludzik Explains. My name is Chris Hludzik, and this is a series of videos where I explain my solo releases and side projects throughout the years. There's already two videos in the series, one explaining the first side project I was involved in called The Latter Day, and the album that we did called As We Speak. And the second video was centered around my debut solo album, which was called Yours in Rock from 2008. And today I will be talking about my second solo album, 2012's Dissonance Meets Harmony. You can see that there. A release I'm very proud of to this day. I already did an interview video on this album when it came out, but that really talks more about the album in general. And if you go to the interviews playlist on my YouTube page, you can find that interview. But this I'm going to be talking about more about the songs in general, which is really what this series is all about, explaining the songs, the meanings behind them, and things of that nature. So basically, Dissonance Meets Harmony started taking shape very shortly after I was finished with my debut album, Yours in Rock, in late 2008. I just had a rush of inspiration, and I was still writing songs, and I just kept writing. First song I came up with was a song called No Chorus, which is actually the second song on the album, and that kind of set the standard. And from then on, just kept doing demos and just kept rolling along with it. So I'm just going to take you track through track from the album, and start off with the song, Wrote That One Too, which is the song that opens up the album. Wrote That One Too is, as I always introduce it at my shows, it's a song about writing songs. So if you're not a songwriter, I guess you really can't relate to it, but I mean, it's okay. But basically, there's one lyric in the song that goes, "A tune in my head is a song in my heart. I've got it all figured out before I even start." And that's really how it is for me when I'm coming up with a song. Even before I have it demoed, even before I have it written out on paper or typed out on the computer or whatever, I usually have a fully fleshed out idea in my head of what that song is going to sound like, what parts are going to be in it, what instruments, how they're going to be used, etc. It's kind of like a curse, I guess. But it's a pretty cool curse to have sometimes. But the song really kind of sets the tone for the whole album, because it's a bit, it starts off acoustically, middle bit's kind of a little more rockin', a little more heavier, and then goes acoustic and gets softer at the end again. So it's kind of a mix of what you can expect on the entire album as a whole. It also features the use of this fine thing right here, the capo, which on Yours in Rock I didn't use. And Yours in Rock was all very basic chords and bar chords and things like that. When I was writing this album, I decided I wanted to kind of step up my game a little bit and, do some different things. And so, and just messing around, I started messing around with the capo and came up with, all these great chords. And, I mean, this right here is a C chord, but, capoed on the second fret, it's not C, it's D. So playing it this way, it's a bit different. So basically, I mean, it's easy to play a D chord the standard way, but to play it this way, it's cool because then it allows you to, transition to other chords differently than you'd be able to, and it's more of a tool to make it easier. It's not that you can't play the chords other ways, but from a songwriting standpoint, it's a little easier because if you're just messing around, without the capo and you're playing the same chords and the same progressions over and over and over again, you kind of get bored and you kind of get in a rut as a songwriter. So when you put the capo on, it's like, oh, okay, I can do different things here, and I could, make different chord progressions and different movements and things like that I wouldn't be able to do without the capo. So the capo was actually very instrumental in the making of a lot of the music on this album. And a lot of people view the capo as kind of a cop-out and a cheap way of playing guitar. And to be honest, that's how I viewed it at first as well. But really, it's actually quite helpful. And the thing is as long as you use it in a way that you're not just using it because you're too lazy to play a D chord the standard way, and you're using it to just make interesting chord progressions and do different things that you wouldn't be able to do without the capo, then it's okay, Like I said, certainly I can play a D chord the regular way, but then to be able to go and do the other chords and the other formations without the capo would be kind of difficult. And I'm admittedly not a very great guitar player, so that certainly helped me. But wrote that one too, was just a song about writing songs. I figured, what a great way to start the album off, with a song about the songs. And I figured it was a nice little intro track. It wasn't really something that I could put anywhere else, I couldn't put it in the middle of the album, I couldn't put it at the end of the album, so right at the top was the perfect place to put it. The next song is called No Chorus, and that was, as I said, the song that really started off the whole project. And it's just a song about growing up, just a song about coming up through life and trying to figure things out, trying to figure out who we are and what we're doing here and all that good stuff. It's ironically, I think it's not ironically, but it's one of my brother's favorite songs of mine, and don't really know why. I never really asked him why, but it's cool to know that he's a fan of it. This is a song that I'm very proud of. Like I said, it was the first song for the project, and really got the ball rolling as far as where I wanted to take the project musically. And No Chorus started off as pretty much a demo, and what you hear on the Dissonance Meets Harmony album pretty much is the demo, just with a real piano overdubbed as opposed to the keyboard that I used at home for the demo. I just took my tape to the studio, transferred it, and then just recorded the real studio piano over it to make it authentic, So that's No Chorus. And then the third song is called Resurfaced. And Resurfaced is a song just about how we all have problems and things in our life that we'd like to sort of run away from. And no matter how much we run away from them, it doesn't really matter, because when we come back to wherever we ran away from, our problems are still going to be there. And so the song is really just sort of a warning, I suppose. More warning than anything. A really good song, I think. Lenny Mecca plays fretless bass on it and does an awesome job on it. The fourth song of the album is called The Thanks I Get. And that was a song I had written prior to the release of Yours in Rock, but it was never in contention for it because it was already a little late in the process. It was pretty much halfway done with Yours in Rock, so I pretty much had the songs I wanted already, so there was no chance that was going to get included. The Thanks I Get started out life as a much shorter song. It was just pretty much the two sections of verses and the two choruses, if you will, and that was it. And I just sort of ended it like a cold ending, and I decided it needed more, and so I added a bridge and an outro, and the outro features a really awesome guitar solo by Joe Hludzik, and the song came out much, much better than I had imagined, and very proud of that one. The fifth song of the album is actually the single from the album, and it's called For Mercy. And I wrote For Mercy. I was working for a street department when I was in my early 20s, and I was working on the recycling truck that day, and a lyric just popped into my head, and we had nothing in the truck. We had some paper towel or some tissues or something, and a little pencil that barely had a point on it, and I just started scrawling these lyrics out. Because that's the way I write. I mean, if I get inspiration, at that second I have to capture it. Otherwise, it's gone. So I was able to get the first verse, and that was all I needed. Because at least as long as I had the nucleus of the idea, I could build off of that. And I think I probably finished the song when I got home that day, lyrically. Musically, again, it was another kind of capo thing. It was, I was just messing around with chord progressions, and I came across one that I really liked, and it stuck. I released For Mercy as the single from the album because I felt like it best encompassed everything the album was about. It was a bit heavy, it was a bit light, it was a bit dark, It was a bit light. It was catchy, but it was serious. And so that was the one that I released as the single from the album. The next song is called Maybe Then. And it's just a song about these people you meet in life who you wonder how the hell they make it through so easily, and how do they do it? Have they really got it all figured out? And that's sort of what that song is pretty much about, and what it would be like if you had all the answers and if you had it all figured out. Of course, as we know in life, most of these people that we think have it figured out really don't have it figured out. They just act like they do. But it still doesn't help the fact that it makes it look like they're floating so effortlessly through life while we're here struggling, So I thought in the context of the album and the other songs, that song, kind of worked really well and fit really well there. The seventh song of the album is called Bleeding Ears, and it was actually a lyric I had from high school. And I set it to music around the time I was beginning to record the previous album, Yours in Rock. And just kind of one of those songs about the world and just observing things that are going on in the world and how things are taking shape. And just kind of really feeling helpless about it, because I think sometimes we do. We watch the TV or we listen to the radio or we read articles online or in the newspaper, and we see how the world's just kind of going to hell, and we would like to be able to do something, but we're really not sure what, and we're not even sure, even if we could do something, if it would make a difference. And so that's kind of what that song is just talking about. And the last song on the album, the eighth song, is called Encouragement, and it's sort of a more, for me, a more positive, upbeat kind of song. And it's interesting in that aspect because I don't really usually write positive kind of songs. Not that they're negative, but they're just real, I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't make anything happier or shinier than it really is. I'm very straightforward and direct with my songwriting, as are a lot of my favorite songwriters, such as Ian Hunter and Lou Reed, guys like that. Are very direct in their songwriting and very stark almost, some would say. But I've always appreciated that kind of lyric writing, that kind of honesty. Because it's easy to sugarcoat things. It's easy to make things seem better than they really are. But at the end of the day, when you walk outside and you see what the world really is, it makes that stuff seem kind of a bit of a joke. But with Encouragement, I just basically wanted to write a song saying, you know what, I know the world's tough, and I know I've just, throughout this entire album, gone through a lot of scenarios about how tough the world can be and things like that, but you can make it through. You can do it, It's not impossible. It might be hard, it might seem improbable, but it's not impossible. And so I wanted to end the album on a positive note like that. So that comprises all the material on my second solo album, which was released in fall of 2012, which was called Dissonance Meets Harmony. Now, a little background on the album as a whole. Like I said, I did talk about the album as a whole in another video, which you could find in my interviews playlist on YouTube. But just to go over it briefly, the theme of the album is just kind of growing up, coming up through life, facing life's trials and adversities and things like that, and hopefully coming out on the other side. And I say hopefully because we don't know how things are going to turn out for us. The song Encouragement at the end of the album doesn't insinuate that you will come out on the other side. It just insinuates that you can, but you never know. So there's always that little if there with a lot of my songs. Because, I don't want to leave anything out, and I don't want to give the listener sort of false hope. Like I said, I don't want my material to be kind of, not realistic. So, you always have to accept the possibility that, things can't always go well, and they can't always be right. And it's just an unfortunate fact of life. But that's what the album's about. It's just about life, going through life, and trying to find out where your place is in life. And it's not a concept album as such, but that's the theme, you could take each of these songs individually and listen to them individually and enjoy them. There's nothing that links the songs together, really. It's just a common theme that runs throughout the songs. So, and I felt that was important this time around when I did that album, because Years in Rock was just kind of a grab bag of songs that I had written up to that point that were good enough and, done to a point where they could be released and have something done with them. But these songs, I wanted to have more of a cohesion to them. I felt that was important. Not just for the listener, but for me as a musician, because number one, I wanted to see if I could do it. And number two, I felt like these songs were among some of the best I'd written. And I felt like it would be kind of cool if they did kind of connect somehow, but yet could still be separated. Because I think throughout history, a lot of, so-called concept albums, the concept's usually lost by the second or third song, It's very hard to keep track. Even the concept albums that are a little more cohesive than others, they're usually only cohesive because we're told that they're supposed to be cohesive. They're not really, that well put together. Even albums like, Quadrophenia by The Who, which is a concept album, but the concept is only there because you're told what the story is beforehand, and if you didn't know the story, you wouldn't know what the hell they were going on about. So, that's one reason I've always kind of had a love-hate relationship with the concept album. That's one reason why I didn't want to make this a concept album, because I didn't want it to be lost on anyone, and I thought that the theme and the meanings behind the songs were very universal and that anyone could find something in them. I felt that was important to do. Another thing about this album that I've had some questions on over the years is why it's so short, why it's only 8 songs, and why it's only 25 minutes long. Because a lot of people wouldn't consider something that's 25 minutes long an album. In fact, some people might consider that an EP. But an EP, I believe the standard for an EP is it has to be 7 songs long, with no real distinct length, but it has to be 7 songs long. Well, this happens to be 8 songs long, so it wouldn't qualify as an EP anyway. But the reason I did the album this way and why it's a bit shorter is because I felt like if it ran on any longer, the themes wouldn't be as strong, the flow wouldn't be as good. Plus, I was getting better at songwriting. On Years in Rock, I was doing a lot of stuff where I was, I'd be repeating verses over and over again. I'd be, just playing parts over and over again, not really doing many changes. There weren't a lot of bridges or changes in those songs in the first album. On this one there are, and I did that because I wanted a little more diversity. I wanted it to be a little more open. I didn't want it to be so, so typical, I guess, of, what I would call, simple, basic songwriting 101. Here's the verse, here's the chorus, here's this, here's that, whatever. In fact, some of these songs don't even have choruses. Well, like, for instance, the song No Chorus. I called it No Chorus because there's no chorus in it. And a lot of people will think, well, that's crazy, how could you have a song without a chorus? But why not? Why not have a song without a chorus? But I guess in the beginning I thought, why have a song with a bridge? But I didn't really realize how important bridges were in songs and how they help you make a transition or how they help you further a point that you're trying to make in a song. And I remember it was funny, but on my first album, Joe Ogleski, the engineer at Sound Investments Recording Studio, said to me, your songs don't have any bridges in them. You got to write bridges in your songs. So when I did my second album, when I came to the studio to do the second album, he said, geez, every one of your songs has a bridge in it, geez. So, but that's basically what this album was about too. It was about me progressing as a musician and as a writer. I really wanted to see how I could push myself. I wanted to get the lyric to another level. I wanted to get the music to another level. I wanted to get the sound to another level as well. My first album was recorded on an 8-track reel-to-reel tape machine. A couple of the songs were recorded at the studio, and one of the songs was recorded on my 4-track cassette recorder. So, it was very basic, kind of all over the place. This one I wanted to have a little more cohesion, so what I did was I recorded all the drums myself. I multi-tracked the drums this time instead of recording the mono like I did with Years in Rock. And then I took the I took the drum tracks rather, sorry, and took them to the studio. We dumped them into Pro Tools, and then I overdubbed everything else on top of that. And I wanted more stuff on the album. I wanted more guitars, I wanted more keyboards, I wanted backing vocals, I wanted harmony vocals. I just wanted a lot of layers and a lot of dimension to the music, as opposed to Years in Rock, which was just kind of, you know, in your face, straight down the line kind of stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I didn't want to do another album like that. I wanted to evolve. I mean, why make Yours in Rock Part 2? You know, what's the point? So, basically, that was my my direction that I took when I made this album. A lot of great players on this album, some of whom played on the first album. Brian Brophy, of course, plays drums. Lenny Mecca plays bass on most of the songs, except for 3 of them, because the last song doesn't have bass, and I play bass on the first 2 songs of the album. And of course, we had Joe Gillespie on lead guitars and guitar solos, and we have Tom Borthwick on accordion on the last song, which was pretty cool. And the album was kind of a labor of love, I guess I could say. That's probably an understatement. You know, it took me a long time from conception to completion of this album. It just took a long time to do. Basically, because there were a lot of variables happening. Certain people getting involved and then not being involved anymore, and you know, just time and work and family stuff and just life. It was funny, an album I was making about life was being, you know, interrupted by life constantly while I was making this album. So it was kind of funny, kind of ironic. But it's an album that I'm extremely proud of. It didn't really do as well as Yours in Rock did. It didn't get any reviews. It did get some radio play, which I was very happy about. But other than that, not really a lot of attention. And that's something that kind of bothers me to this day, because I really put a lot of work into this album. And it's not that I didn't try to promote it, because I certainly did. I mean, I drove myself nuts promoting this. I did TV appearances. I did, I submitted the CD for reviews everywhere. Even before the album was done, I was sending out, you know, rough mixes and, you know, pre-mastered copies of the songs to radio stations and stuff and reviewers, in the hopes that it would generate some interest by the time the album came out. And I think maybe I just released it at a bad time. I don't really know. It was the end of 2012. There were some other big releases that came out by local musicians in northeastern Pennsylvania, and so maybe Dissonance Meets Harmony just kind of got overshadowed. I don't know. But I still play the majority of that album live to this day, and it's still the solo project of mine that I'm the most proud of. And I'm proud of not only my work on the album, but I'm proud of the work of all the other players on the album, because they really brought their A game. And, you know, I had a vision that I wanted this to be, you know, a lot wider in scope, and they were able to help me see that vision through, and I have nothing but the utmost respect and appreciation for them in helping me achieve that. For those who are interested in purchasing the album is available various places throughout northeastern Pennsylvania. The last I knew, it was available at Magden Music in Oliphant, Pennsylvania. It was available at Duffy's Coffee House in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. And it was also available at a couple music stores, such as Main Street Jukebox in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Wayne's World of Music in Dallas, Pennsylvania, and it's also available at Barnes & Noble in Wilkes-Barre Township, Pennsylvania. And it was available at a few other places as well, but those places closed down, unfortunately. But if you are interested in getting a copy of Dissonance Meets Harmony, and you're not from my local area and you can't travel to one of those stores, I would be more than happy to mail you a copy. Send me a private message here on YouTube, or you can send me a private message on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Chris Hludzik, and I can send you information on how to acquire a copy of Dissonance Meets Harmony. But until next time, my name is Chris Hludzik, and thank you very much for watching. And the next video, I will be talking about my last solo release, which was 2014's EP called Nervous No More. Thanks for watching, and good night.